And I said, not tonight, Jack. And the reason I said not tonight is because of what I want to talk about. And that's to do with schools. Hi, Mum. Good to see you. Patricia Shaw as well. In this country, well, any country, come to that, when we take our kids to school, one of the things that we expect to happen is to go and pick them up in a safe and sound condition at the end of the day. I have two children. One is 8, nearly 9 years old, and the other is 18, literally just left school and on the verge of going into the big wide world. And the same is true with both of them. I drop them off at school and I expect and I demand that they're kept safe and well and their welfare is taken care of, and I collect my children from their responsibility and their care at the end of the day. And you can quite openly walk into a school in this country and everything else. But one of the disturbing things that came over from America over the last 24 hours or so was, of course, this shooting, this active shooter incident at this school in Texas, where, several young children around the same age as Jack lost their lives. They were shot down and murdered in cold blood. It was an absolutely disgusting, outrageous atrocity. And you have to ask yourself the question, why? I mean, I'll find him. Here you are. This is the guy that did it. He's now dead. He was taken out by law enforcement on the scene. You see, with active shooter events, from my understanding, it only ends in a couple of three ways. Number one, they go in and kill as many people as possible and then take their own life. They surrender, or, and taken into custody, or, law enforcement are forced to take them out, which is what happened in this case, from what I'm led to believe. Now, this guy was 18 years old himself. Obviously, the age of criminal responsibility, I suppose, in any country. I'm not sure what the situation is in America with regard to that, but certainly in this country, it's 18. So, he was criminally and morally responsible for his actions. You have to ask yourself what went wrong at home, what went wrong up here. Was it a fallout with somebody to cause this to happen? It's utter devastation. I mean, this news report I'm looking at the moment came out at 12:52 this afternoon, and it said that 19 children and 2 adults have sadly died as a result of this outrage, where this guy's gone in and cold-bloodedly killed them. And, I understand that figure is slightly higher now. I think it was 21 or something like that I read, but, a death is a death. And particularly if they're so young as well, it's awful. It really is awful. Yesterday's massacre claimed the lives of 19 children and 2 adults. Now, I understand from my American friends, where I've listened to their feedback on this, retired police officers, that you've got a situation in America where some schools are kept under lock and key, an armoured door at the front, and in some cases armed security, because they're so concerned and worried about this kind of thing happening. And it's awful. What kind of environment is that to bring the children up in? Joe Wallace makes the point here, it happened because the teachers were not armed, and of course they would have no way to defend themselves or the children. There was a thing years ago, I can't remember the exact incident, but it was something similar, where the teacher hid all the kids in cupboards and lied, said class dismissed, don't know where they are, and she sadly paid for it. Lauren Mackenzie, that's it, Sandy Hook, wasn't it? The laws were meant to have been tightened up. I mean, look at some of the statistics here. 10 days previously, there was a mass shooting in Buffalo, New York, which made all the headlines. We know about that. Uh, in 2022, according to this media report, there's been 212 mass shootings in the US, not specifically school related, but mass shootings nonetheless. I mean, you look at this chart here. That makes for very disturbing reading, and you can see there's a big fluctuation. But as somebody said on their podcast the other day, one shooting is one too many. Now, yeah, I mean, last year we're up to 700 of these incidents, I suppose, and we're well up to just over 200 now, and we're barely halfway through the year. It's mind-boggling to me, and again, I think it's a difference in the cultures. You know, I and our opinions of firearms and weaponry. It really is mind-boggling. The GVA defines a mass shooting as an incident in which 4 or more people were shot or killed, excluding the shooter. So this was obviously something, you know, that's considered that. In the year 2022, 212 mass shootings took place in the United States, 27 of which were in schools. 27, let that sink in, people. It's unbelievable. Following the attack, President Joe Biden said he was sick and tired of gun violence in America. I'm sorry, President Biden, we've heard all this before. You know, these young kids get their lives taken away from them like this, and you know, what are we to do? What are we to say? He said, I hope when I become president I wouldn't have to do this again. To lose a child is like having your soul ripped out. There's certainly something that's not good. 27 school shootings, that is a load of bollocks. Bluetooth Tony says, well, if you have other information, then please enlighten us. Please do. I actually was told and heard a figure less than that yesterday, less than that by nearly half. You know, we get the ones that are reported, obviously, and you do wonder if there are more that aren't reported. You know, you always have to take things, you know, sometimes with a pinch of salt and work out what's going on. I knew a policeman who had to go into the gym at Dunblane where all the children were lying dead. Yeah, and of course that stays with them, doesn't it? The sight of that, it does stay with them, and you know, psychological, you know, troubles from that point on. It's not an easy job. Here it comes. It was violent rap music, violent video games, and violent films that did it, and there's no other explanation for it. Ban them. Yeah. What details of his victims are still emerging following the devastation. One of them was 4th grade teacher Eva Morales, who was the first named victim. I remember hearing fairly early on that there was a teacher. Her police officer husband, Ruben Ruiz, had held an active shooter drill at Uvalde High School just 2 months previously. And I've read, when I was looking up this before I came out, that people, you know, these schools do carry out active shooter drills. If someone comes in, you know, spraying everything everywhere, you know, what do they do about it? Desks up at doors and all that sort of thing. Now, I've got somebody gobbing off in the chat here, and I want to make it very clear. Bullet Tooth Tony, Brits lecturing Americans on guns is hilarious. I'm not lecturing anybody, Bullet Tooth Tony. If you don't like what I've got to say, leave, right? I'm trying to get my head around it. I'm trying to bring it to an audience so we can talk about it and try and work out how and why this is allowed to happen. It just blows my mind, and especially the age of these young victims. I don't I don't understand it, so I want to talk about it. It is not my intention to lecture anybody. If you feel that way, then maybe this isn't the place for you. I'm not going to get into politics or arguments or anything like that over this. It's literally a chat. Nothing more, nothing less. If you take it any other way, then that's down to you. You hear the American perspective of what goes on, and we want to hear the other side as well. I have my own opinions of guns and the use of, and again, it's purely, all right, you point out I'm British, so I do not fully understand how things are, tackled over there. So I am. By the way, I'm Irish, not American or British. Fair comment, Bullet Tooth Tony. I just wanted to clear that up, and I hope no offence was taken. I just wanted to make sure you're clear where I'm coming from. This is not a lecture. This is just a discussion. That's all. I just felt it important to talk about it because I just feel like this happens too often, or it appears to happen too often. And who pays the price? These young kids. The tragic deaths have led to renewed and desperate calls for a drastic change in gun policy. Mr. Biden added the idea that an 18-year-old kid can buy assault weapons is wrong. I mean, I remember ages ago, does anyone remember the documentary maker Michael Moore? I've not seen his name for a long, long time. But he did a thing once called Bowling for Columbine, which was on obviously another one of these issues. And he went in and opened a bank account. I can't remember the name of the bank because it was several years since I've seen it. But as a welcome gift, he was given a fucking gun. And I looked and I thought, wow, over here we'd be given a pen. I just... the mind boggled to me. As a nation, we have to ask, when in God's name are we going to do what we all know in our gut needs to be done? What is that, Mr. President? Law enforcement officials first responded to the reports of an active shooter on Tuesday afternoon. Ramos, reportedly a student or former student at the school, was killed following the attack. There was a picture I saw of him apparently sneaking into the premises with a backpack on, and obviously had hostile intentions. He has told a woman on Instagram, "I got a little secret I want to tell you," just hours before launching the attack at around 11:30 a.m. local time. Texas Governor Greg Abbott said in a briefing he shot and killed horrifically and incomprehensibly. Mr. Abbott told CNN the gunman had driven to the school and left his car in a ditch, of all places. Unfortunately, he was able to enter the premises, and then from there, that's when he entered several classrooms and started shooting, obviously unchecked. An elite Border Patrol agent was nearby when the shooting began and rushed into the school without waiting for backup and shot Ramos as he hid behind a barricade. And that's the point, according to our press, when Ramos was, eliminated. He was injured, but expected to recover. Children slowly began emerging from the school under police escort an hour after the shooting, as family members rushed to scene desperate for news. The Robb Elementary shooting is the third deadliest shooting overall in America in the last 10 years. It sits below the Sandy Hook massacre, in which 28 people were killed in a Connecticut primary school, and the Parkland tragedy when Nicholas Cruz killed 17 in Florida. Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy, who came to Congress representing Sandy Hook, today begged his colleagues to enact gun reform. So, again, this ignites this whole discussion, doesn't it? What are we doing, he asked, just days after a shooter walked into a grocery store to gun down African-American patrons. We have another Sandy Hook on our hands. What are we doing? As the kids run for their lives, we're doing nothing. What are we doing? Why are you here if not to solve a problem? This isn't inevitable. These kids weren't unlucky. This only happens in this country and nowhere else. Well, that's not strictly true, that last line, is it? it happens all over the place, but it seems to be America where we get the prevalence of it. Yeah, awful tragedy, and my thoughts are with the family of all the young children that have been killed by this guy, and any law enforcement officers and anyone else affected. It's a tragic thing, and you know, I hope the parents of the kids that survived this don't have too much of a time with regard to, you know, being scared and psychological issues and all the rest. Listen, folks, this is the Daily Chat with Andy the Gabby Cabby. I don't usually delve too deep into America, but I saw this yesterday, and it bothered me enough. I wanted to talk about it today, just to see what everybody thought. If you haven't done so already, please can you hit the thumbs up on the chat? I'd appreciate that. Let's get them thumbs up a little bit more. Try and get the number of people and the number of thumbs up level. I appreciate that. If you are new here and you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to Andy the Gabby Cabby on YouTube. It's free to do, and you can keep up to date with everything we do on a daily basis. And that'll be wonderful. We're on social media and all that sort of thing as well, so you can find us here. I've got a bit of a serious tone today because this is pretty serious, a serious subject to talk about. Now, before I move on to the next bit, I'm just going to have a quick shifty through the chat and see what people are saying. America needs to start mental health tests before anyone can buy a gun. Could you imagine what the UK would be like if we all had guns? A lot of it's, you know, knives and stuff like that over here, isn't it? Bullet Tooth Tony, my apologies. Thanks, mate. No worries. Bullet Tooth Tony, thank you very much for your comments. Shouldn't be able to buy guns like that anywhere. I understand the gun laws in the US. Lorna, I imagine it would be safe. Knives kill more peeps than guns. All I will say is the problem of banning guns will only push the problem to more mass knives, or alternately push it underground, I suppose. It would be a lot safer if the older people over 40 all had guns, as it mainly young kids in London killing each other with knives. Bring a knife to a gunfight and it won't end well. That's very true. Very true. That's an old saying, that, isn't it? Patricia Shaw, there should be a ban on selling guns. Smash the like button, please. Race to 50 likes, thanks. Yes, we're getting there. Joe Murray, hello to you. Long time no see, my friend. Hope you're okay. And great for you to join us. Hope you're well. Not seen your name in chats for a while. So are we? Tony Whitworth, hello to you. Disarm the good law-abiding citizens of America and the criminals will have a field day. Yeah. And, you know, we're all of the same kind of... I just don't trust our federal government and refuse to give up more privacy rights to the feds. Joe Murray, I saw you on Police Off the Cuff earlier talking about this. That's my mum to Joe Murray. Hello, Andy. Thank you, Joe. Hope you're well. And yes, yeah, you see, this is where the differences are. You know, somebody commented earlier on, you know, a British guy talking about American guns. Ha ha ha! What are you doing? Now, I don't want to lecture anybody. I just want to understand it. Now, you know, there's a couple of Americans in the chat, including Joe Murray, who's a lawyer and a retired police officer for the NYPD, so he may, you know, be able to interject on this. But whenever anybody gets shot or whenever anybody gets killed in America, the thing that sticks out to me is the answer seems to be the other person should have had a gun so they could defend themselves. Now that seems to be the culture, doesn't it? I mean, if we look at the Second Amendment, which is where all of this kind of stems from, the Second Amendment basically reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So based on that alone, they have the right to bear arms to protect themselves. I mean, at the time, this is taken from obviously the American Constitution, the Constitution of the United States of America, but things change and evolve from the 1700s onwards. So what does that mean? They have the right to protect themselves, to carry a firearm for use to protect themselves. And there are many responsible people out there who hold a firearm and know when and how to use it. And I read there's many states now that have carry, both concealed or open carry, where they can walk down the street with a firearm in order to protect themselves. And I see things where somebody is attacked, or they're shot, or they're held up, stuck up, larceny or whatever, and the answer is, why didn't they have a gun? So they could say, get the hell out of it. It's a thing that's ingrained into the culture, I feel, because of the Second Amendment. Again, that's how I led to understand it. Now, what would have been the situation here in this school? We had an off-duty officer run into the place and deal with the situation before backup arrived. A hero in my book. He went in and he did what was necessary. But then I've heard this before. What if the teachers had a gun in their drawer? Could this have ended differently? Could more kids' lives have been saved before this atrocity reared its ugly head? I don't know the answer to that. I really don't. I wish I did, and I'd love some people to tell me. But in my view, guns are a lot like other weapons. If you're going to have overall peace, it's never gonna happen unless everybody puts them all down together. Be it nukes, firearms, knives, firecrackers, everybody down together. But there's always going to be a party of people or an individual somewhere that holds on to theirs, and that way of thinking is never ever going to work. And if you've got a piece of paper from the 1700s that says, I have a right to have a gun, that is ingrained into the basic culture and understanding of the country, in this case the United States. So what I have to ask is how an 18-year-old kid with obvious issues, we should call them, was allowed to buy a gun in the first place. And not just any gun, quite high-powered weaponry, from what I'm led to believe. And it's not the first time, is it? Is that where the issue is? You have states in America, and again, I'm just going on an assumption of what I believe to be true. What the states had their own civilian militia. Joe Murray says, thank you for that. Yeah, I'm going on a thing of what I believe to be true. Is the whole gun regulation state driven? Is it state to state deals with this, or is it a whole federal government kind of thing, a whole centrally based, we're going to do it this way? Is that how it works, or is it so decentralized it's different no matter what state you go to? But the thing is, how are people getting a hold of guns that shouldn't really have them? And is this what caused this? And obviously the answer is, get a gun yourself so you can protect yourself. I just don't understand it, to be honest, and it leads to tragedies like this. Let's have a look what other people are saying. The gun, the knife, the bomb, all are not the problem. It's the mental ideology which flips a level-headed person from holding those weapons into crazed killers. You raise a valid point, Anna Perkins, because if you look at the media, and I think I've been guilty of this a couple of times myself this evening, you have a situation where they say the gun did it, or the bomb did it. It's like if we mention Alec Baldwin, for example, where it says the gun shot and killed, Miss Hutchins. somebody had to help hold that gun to enact that thing from happening in the first place. So yeah, I get what you're saying, Anna. It's very much media spiel, isn't it? You can't legally keep that amount on your license. I hope he doesn't get caught. Limit ammo which can be held by civilians. I think there an attempt at some stage to limit the capacity of weapons that could be held by civilians or of a certain age. Hello, Neats. Good to see you. I hope you're well. If the estimated billion being spent on the Jubilee was divided among the 26 million households in the UK, it would mean a windfall of 38 grand. That's something, isn't it? States' rights issue. Okay, thanks, Joe. I wasn't quite sure how that cleared it up. So it's going to be different, isn't it? Depending on where you are. Why don't they do the same in the USA? Totally crazy. Many kids killed in crossfire by gangs in America. Search up Officer Tatum on here. I've heard that name, Bev Berry. Thank you. Tony Martin case in the UK, shot and killed a burglar. Big mistake that he held no gun license. Would you not defend your property? You're damn right I would, Anna. And I think anybody should have the right to defend their property and their home. A lot of people get killed by falling bullets. Jay Goose, I had use of an old 410 when I was young. Loved that gun. Only one barrel worked, but I never went home without a rabbit. Yeah, I've had some firearms training when I was younger, and we always had access to firearms when I was in the cadet forces and everything, and all the proper drills and everything and responsibility. See what else we got. I used to have a spud gun and a cat gun when I was a kid. Yeah, I remember them too. I couldn't get 200 off with a shotgun that holds two at once. Why is it TV shows glorify murder? It becomes a norm and numbs people from reacting to real life murders. I think whoever had to deal with this in the end is going to be scarred in some way. It's hard not to be, having to clean up the mess, and it's law enforcement and the teachers and the families that I feel for. I really do. And I just hope a way is found for this not to happen again. But as unfortunate as it is, I think it's going to at some point. But UK support arms that kill people in Ukraine. Well, that's okay. Think about it, Anthony Moose. Yeah, we send millions of pounds worth of them over there, don't we? That's another subject, but I get where you're coming from, definitely. That picture was defined a mugshot, so he must have had previous. Yeah, it did look very mugshot-like, didn't it, Edgar? If the estimated £1 billion, that's the Jubilee one, they're not going to change nothing in America. Always say his thoughts and prayers, John Harris. I believe you're probably right. There'll be a lot of political flag waving and tub thumping, and you're probably right. It would be the same over here. Never hear of a school shooting in Afghanistan. Yeah, Afghanistan. I've got a driver that works for me every now and again, who I get from another firm, and his father is very sick over there, and he's got to go there soon. Tina, Bugger, Andy, I've had to rewind, Mr. Live Start. Hi, chat, hope you're all well. Let's just say I was joking, the shushy, Christine Ayres, you behave yourself, I've been watching you. Yes, internet, evil, seriously, if the net did not exist, the world would be fine and dandy like the 1980s was. I think we've all become a very smaller, more well-informed place, haven't we, as a result of the internet over the last 20 or 30 years. It's something. Neats, just found you and the army. Rotten reception here last few days. Hope all is well. My uncle, whose name will remain unknown for legal reasons, has 9,000 rounds of ammo at his home. You can't blame him in London. Jesus, that's a lot of ammo. Might have a look at Police Off the Cuff later. Please do, Cosmic. They're absolutely brilliant. Bill Cannon, Phil Grimaldi, both two retired NYPD detectives. Bill, a sergeant, probably close on 50 years of experience between them, and they're a great pair of guys as well. Really good to listen to. I often, when I'm on the road, I put one of their podcasts on, and they've got just over 28,000 subscribers now. So they're doing great guns. They really are. Two wings of the same bird. Yeah, thank you for indulging me, everyone. I just wanted to spend the first 20 minutes, half hour talking about that. It's just a tragedy, and I wonder if it could be avoided. I really do. This is